How's it going, everybody? Today we are back for another one, Drone Guy Reacts, and today we're going to be reacting to Prison Life for a Made Man by Michael Franzese. And if you don't know who he is, he was actually in the Colombo crime family. Very interesting guy, really cool stories that he has to tell. He does claim that he does know where Jimmy Hoffa is, that he was told by his father and some other associates of his father. And the only clue that he ever gave was it's cold and wet, and that he was not buried where a lot of these conspiracy theories said that he was. But we're going to just jump into this and see what he has to say.
What are we going to do today? For some reason, there's a fascination with prison. People want to know what experiences really stood out for me during my time. I got to tell you this. I have either been in prison or visiting prison my entire life. But some of the experiences that I have that really stand out, I can tell you. Hey everyone, welcome to another sit down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well, staying safe, staying healthy. I know the election process has got people hopefully calmed down right now. Things are moving along, it seems. Anyway, what are we going to do today? For some reason, there's a fascination with prison. I get asked about prison all the time. People want to hear prison stories, want to know, what went on down there. I got to tell you this. I have either been in prison or visiting prison my entire life. Started with my dad, when I was 10, 11 years old. My dad got in trouble back in the early 60s, and I visited him in jail in Queens County, in jail in Brooklyn and Long Island, and then, of course, the federal jail in Manhattan at that time, MCC. Started out early in my life, and then, of course, I did a lot of time. I did 8 years myself in prison, and mostly in the federal system, but did visit state prisons too. Got arrested 17 or 18 times. So I've been in different jails around the country. So I consider myself pretty much an expert in prison. And in the last 25 years, I've been going around the country, really around the world, and speaking to inmates and trying to give them some encouragement, let them understand how I was able to, turn my life around. And certainly if I could turn my life around, then other people can do it too. So when it comes to the prison, life, I'm pretty much an expert, I would say. And I don't advise anybody else to become an expert unless you're doing prison ministry and you're out there to help people. But if you got to go in there yourself, try to avoid it. That's my advice to all of you. And, before I get into that, a couple of things. A lot of people have been asking me about this, why I wear this medallion. It's a dog tag, actually. And it says remade on it. And the reason for that is, I was made back in 1975, made guy, entered the life, criminal life. And then I was remade when I became a person of faith. And I keep this on me. I got a Bible verse on there, my favorite one, Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. To when I start to think about doing the wrong thing, and I do quite often, I remember, hey, Mike, you're not that guy anymore. You've been remade. People want to know where they can get it. Store.michaelfranzese.com. You can buy it on Facebook. Or on Instagram. We have stores there now, so that's what that's all about. And believe me, it helps. You pick this up and you say, wait a minute, let me calm down. So it works for me. I think it could work for you, especially some of you renegades out there that were renegades like me. Anyway, so let's get into the prison stuff. I started out obviously in MCC, New York, and then I went to, Phoenix, Arizona. Then I went to Terminal Island. I was in Sheridan, Oregon. I was in El Reno, Oklahoma. They had me all over the country when they put me on diesel therapy. And
I just want to say something real quick. It's really cool how he's kind of turned his life around, and now he's able to make money legitimately by selling his story, selling merchandise. I don't see a problem with it. I really like his stories. I can sit and listen to this man talk all day. I've watched a few of his videos. I haven't seen all of them, but I've watched quite a few. I've not seen this one yet. But we're going to go ahead and continue and see what he's got to say.
I'll describe that a little bit. But people want to know what experiences really stood out for me during my time. Well, I'll tell you, I spent 29 months and 7 days in solitary in the hole. And obviously, that was a difficult time. I don't care what anybody tells you. It's tough to be in solitary. We were not made to be solo creatures. We were made to be social creatures, no doubt about it. Tough time spending all that time in the hold. A lot of guys spent more time than me, but for me, 29 months and 7 days was enough. But I got through it. A lot of guys struggle through that. You know, those lights go out at night. You hear a lot of stuff back and forth, and some people don't do well in those circumstances. And I read a lot, listened to my Sony Walkman. I've said this before. And, you know, I was into my Bible at the time, read probably 400 books, got the newspapers 5 or 6 days late, tried to do exercise in the cell, got out in the yard, in the cage every once in a while by myself, was able to keep my sanity. And of course, I look forward to my phone calls, always to stay in touch with your family. For me, that's what it was all about.
And a really fun fact that he actually said in another interview, and he may bring it up because he's speaking about prison in this one, is he said that the scenes from Goodfellas were so fictional, like that's not how they were able to live in prison. He said it was just as hard as anybody else in there. They didn't get their own private cells or anything like in Goodfellas. And the one actor that he said was the best portrayal of a mobster, period, was Joe Pesci. I thought that was kind of a fun fact.
Diesel therapy. Okay, let me explain that to you. In the federal system, it's probably the worst part about doing time. They pick you up in the middle of the night. You have no idea where you're going. You put on a bus. From the bus, you get into a plane that the marshals confiscated for some drug dealer. The plane is gutted out, basically. You're handcuffed to the seat the whole time. And if that plane goes down, you're done. You don't have you don't have a prayer anyway, but especially at that point, you don't have a prayer. And, you know, it's just a tough thing. They take you to a prison where you have no idea where you're going. And when the feds are mad at you, they put you on diesel therapy. They're trying to crack you, you know, maybe trying to get you to cooperate, maybe just giving you a hard time. They move you around from one prison to another. You don't get time to relax, to get, you know, into an accommodation in a cell. You don't meet anybody. Normally you're in the hole. It's a very tough situation. And they had me on diesel therapy for several months when they were trying to get me to cooperate. It was a rough time, I got to tell you. But again, you get through it. You know, people say to me, Michael, how'd you get through all of that? They don't give you a choice. You know, they don't say, hey, you want to do this or you want to go home? You got to do it. You'll be surprised what you can do when you're forced to do it, when you don't have a choice. And in prison, unfortunately, you don't have a choice. But some of the experiences that I have that really stand out, you know, I can tell you, I was in Terminal Island. I'll tell you a good one, right? I'm in Terminal Island, California. If you got to do time, that's one of the best places to do time. They have two sections. They have the
Good God, not even going to lie. It looks like a Florida resort.
North Yard, not too good. You know, you're in a dormitory. And then they have the South Yard where you really got your own room. There's kind of houses there and you got your own little room. It's small, but you're all by yourself. And believe me, everybody in prison, you like to have your own cell. You'd rather be alone than have to share with a bunkie. And it was great because it's in San Pedro and it's really right out on the water. That's it. So you can watch the boats go by when you're in the yard. You know, it's a distraction. You walk the track and you're watching the boats. It's normally good weather in California, great. And I got to tell you this, in the summertime, every Saturday or Sunday, you'd get a bunch of women in boats. They would drive by. They would start waving at all the guys. You see the guys run towards the fence like there's going to be an escape, like they're going to jump over. They're running towards the fence. The girls are in their bikinis and they're all saying hello. Some of them, you know, give you a little peek. And believe me, it was. I'll never forget. It happened every Saturday and Sunday. I think even the guards enjoyed it. So that was one of the good points in Terminal Island. You had a little bit more freedom because you were out in the air. It was fun. But, you know, I had another experience in Terminal Island. I had it pretty good with the guards there. You know, a lot of them liked me, but I had a case manager that just didn't like me. She was a woman, and she thought that all mob guys were just, you know, they didn't know how to treat women and they were disrespectful to women. Not true, but that was the impression that she had. So she was always on me, trying to give me a hard time. So one day she happens to come by my cell, and I had scored a television. It was a black and white television. I used to love having it in my cell. I'll never forget, my favorite show at the time was A Honeymooners. You know, Jackie Gleason, you know, I used to love that show, watch it every night. But I had it in my cell. We weren't allowed to have it, but the guards didn't say anything. But she passes by my cell. She sees it in there, forget it. She pulls the television out. She writes me up a disciplinary report. She gives me a shot, and it's going to go to the lieutenant. And that's a problem. You don't want to get any shots. You know, it goes against your good time. You know, a lot of stuff can happen when you get a shot. And I didn't have any. So it was on a Saturday, so she leaves. An hour later, I got the television back, and I had it back in my cell. The following Monday morning, I run over to the lieutenant, who I knew, good Mexican guy, and I told him what happened. He was able to squash the shot for me, but and I kept the television. So I had a lot of conveniences, I would say, in Terminal Island. And at one point, I did have a bunkier roommate, and that was Sal Gambino, Rosario Gambino. He was a guy out of Philadelphia. He was at Angelo Bruno's crew, became a very good friend of mine, really good guy. He got 45 years on a drug case. When he got out, they deported him to Italy, but his family became friends with my wife. Good guy, right? Really enjoyed it. So Terminal Island was probably the best place that I did time. There was a lot of mob guys in there. Pete Milano, Sam Sciortino was with his crew there. And, we got along. I seen the guys, and they used to like to tell war stories. Me, I didn't get involved in that too much. Played cards all the time. I wasn't big on playing cards. But it was the best place to do time. And anybody that's been...
My personal opinion, I think the two biggest reasons why the mafia isn't what the way they used to be would be one, the RICO Act, because they were able to now get you on conspiracy. They didn't actually have to have, you didn't have to have the drugs in your hand. They could just say you were conspiring to sell drugs. And then the second reason was a lot of mobsters did get into drugs because it was easy money. And there was a lot of old school mobsters that didn't like the drug scene and they didn't want their guys in it. But, it was tempting for a lot of the younger guys back in those days. And, in the 70s and 80s, they were doing a lot of that. You top that with the RICO Act and double whammy.
In there in the South Yard, I think they'll tell you the same thing. I don't know how it is now, but that's how it was back then. So another thing, one of the bad hotspots, this was not a good thing, bad hotspot in prison is the phones. You must be respectful on the phones because you always have a time limit. Guys want to get to their loved ones. They got to get to their lawyer. And you don't want to impose on anybody else's time. And that's where I've seen the most problems go on. Fights, stabbings, who got hit with the phone, a lot of stuff. One day, I'm on the phone. I was in Terminal Island. And I hang up the phone and I walk into the dormitory. And as I turn the corner, boom, somebody throws a shot at me, grazes the side of my head. I was kind of stunned. I go up against the bunk. I turn around. It was a young guy, and I go after him, and I grab him, put him against the wall, and he says, "Oh, my God, I hit the wrong guy." Now, he was a young black kid, okay, at the time, and he said, "I hit the wrong guy. I'm sorry." All us white guys look the same. And anyway, I saw that it really was an accident. He thought I was somebody else that had imposed on his phone time. And he was just really angry about it, whatever. He was having a bad day, it happens. So I said, "You sure?" "Yeah, okay, we resolved it." Well, later on that day, he was afraid because he knew who I was. I had a little bit of a reputation in there. And, the mob guys in there, we have a little bit of a reputation. And one of the guys that was kind of one of the major black guys in there comes over to me. "Hey, Michael, we want to make sure everything's okay." Because some of the Italian guys that heard about it, they said, "We can't let that stand. We got to go after this kid." I said, "Look, it was an accident. He didn't mean it. He apologized. No hurt. He grazed the side of my head. It's no big deal." And so we had a whole big thing. "Are you sure it's okay?" I said, "I promise you, nobody's going to bother him." And I told Milano and his guys, "Leave him alone." I said, "Let him go." I said, "We give our word in here. We keep it." So that was that. That was the only time I ever had any kind of confrontation or any problem in the whole 8 years that I did in prison, except for one other time. Now, this was crazy. I'm in LA County Jail. LA County had picked me up. They tried to indict me.
LA County Jail. Woo! That is a rough jail. I'll tell you what. The horror stories that come out of that place is insane.
On some nonsense charge. And they had me in a hole. I was on death row. I was actually in the same tier that O.J. Simpson was on, but before O.J. got there. So I'm locked down 24 hours a day, but I had a complicated case, and they only had one phone. All I cared about was getting to the phone. They only had one phone. So I heard that if you get up to the law library, there's a phone up there. You can get up there 3 hours a day, and you can be on the phone for the whole 3 hours. They had 2 or 3 phones, and not too many guys in the law library. I put a motion into the judge, Judge Judith Champagne. She grants it. So every day now, I can go up to the law library. It was only me and one other guy, character, this guy. I remember his crime. He had put some kind of clown mask on and tried to rob a store, and he robs the register out of, I think he got $60 or $70. As he goes outside, the security guard tackles him. They beat him up. He ends up in jail for something like that. Silly thing. Anyhow, I talked to him a little bit. He wasn't the brightest guy on the planet. And he tells me one day, he says, Mike, look, I got to warn you. He said, a fellow guy that I know down in population, he's coming up here in the law library. He's been here so long. He wants to get out of here. So the only way he can get out of here and go into the penitentiary with his guys, his homies, is to stab somebody. I said, okay. I says, but if you look around, the only two people are here are me and you. Now, I'm assuming he's not going to stab you because you told him to come up here. So that means he's going to stab me. He said, well, I don't know. I said, well, is he going to stab a guard? That's me or nobody, right? This is the brains on this guy. So as soon as the guy comes up the next day, I sit him down and I said, listen, I know why you're up here. I know what you're going to do. He's your friend. If he really wants to be your friend, stab him. Give him a minor cut and then go to the penitentiary. Don't pull that stuff on me. So, but from that point on, I never turned my back when I was on the phone. And I kept a phone book here, the stuff, just to make sure if this guy was coming at me, I couldn't grab anything. I didn't want to have a shank or anything on me because you get caught with that, you're in a lot of trouble. But he never made a move. And as it turns out, I sent word downstairs and they ended up taking him out of the law library to a couple of guys that I knew down there. That's really the only two confrontations that I ever had, with any kind of problem in there in the whole 8 years that I did. Not everybody in prison is a bad guy. People make mistakes. I don't believe you punish people more in prison. Yes, some people belong in the hole only because they might be a danger to other people, maybe a danger to themselves. I don't believe in the hole. I don't believe in solitary for young people. Not at all. The punishment is being in prison. I believe in rehabilitation. If you really care about society, you're going to rehabilitate inmates so that when they come out, they got something to do. They're not a threat to society anymore. I said this in front of the Senate staff and some of the senators back a couple of years back when they brought me there to speak right after 9/11. So I can talk about prison reform all day and all night because I believe in it with all my heart, but not today. I just wanted to leave you with that because I always leave you with something positive. That's it for today. Thank you again. Over 250,000 subscribers. Thanks to you because you're enjoying the content. We put our heart and life and soul into this. Try to make it work for you all and you're enjoying it. Thank you very much. What do I always end up with? Be safe, be healthy. God bless you all. I'll see you next time.
All right, so that was it. If you guys enjoyed that, I thought it was very interesting. He has tons of videos of all different types of stories from when he was in the mob. If you want to go to his channel or his website here on the screen and check it out, go ahead and do that. But if you liked the video, comment down below what you thought. Give me a thumbs up, and we will see you guys again next time.